हेलो गाइस। अभी रात के बज रहे हैं 11:40 और अभी हम लोग बोटानी रिवाइज करने वाले हैं और इसमें 1 आवर 30 मिनट्स लगेगा। इतना हो सकता है। क्या क्या रिवाइज लिस्ट में है मैं एक बार बता देता हूँ आपको। लिविंग वर्ल्ड, प्लांट किंगडम, मॉर्फोलॉजी, सेल, यूनिट ऑफ लाइफ, सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन, प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस, माइक्रोब्स और बायोलॉजिकल क्लासिफिकेशन। ये सारा चैप्टर्स है जो हमें रिवाइज करना है। देखते हैं कितना हो पाता है उसके बेसिस पर, नहीं तो पार्ट 2। ठीक है, चलिए। स्टार्ट। There are certain distinctive characters exhibited by living organisms which distinguish from them non-living. Okay. Unique characters of living organism are: the most distinctive feature exhibited by living organism include growth, reproduction, consciousness and metabolism, and cellular organization. Characteristic of living organism: growth, increase in body mass, increase in number, reproduction, consciousness, respond to external stimuli, और जो मेटाबॉलिज्म एंड सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। तो ये सारे कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनाइजम्स हैं। कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स। राधे राधे। मोहम्मद खान, सलाम वालेकुम। Characteristics of living organism is there are certain distinctive characteristics exhibited by living organism which distinguish them from non-living. Unique characters of living organism are metabolism and cellular organism, metabolism and cellular organism, आप भी लाइव करते हो। मोहम्मद खान, मैं सलाम का जवाब नहीं दे सकता, मैं हिंदू हूँ। मैं सलाम वालेकुम नहीं बोलूँगा। सत्य प्रकाश, राधे राधे। आप भी लाइव करते हो, बढ़िया है, ठीक है। मेटाबॉलिज्म एंड सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म, ग्रोथ and reproduction, consciousness। भाई आप राधे राधे बोलिए, आप क्यों नहीं राधे राधे बोलते हो? ठीक है भाई, आपका लाइव में जाऊंगा। आप इस चैनल को मैं आपका चैनल सब्सक्राइब करता हूँ, सत्य प्रकाश जी का। आपका चैनल सब्सक्राइब हो गया सत्यप्रकाश जी। हर हर महादेव। हरियाणा शेरावली। ओके, growth and reproduction, consciousness, uh, increase in body mass and increase in number is the twin characteristic. Growth in majority of higher animals, in majority of higher plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects grow by in majority of reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Okay. Non-living objects also grow by accumulation of non-living objects also grow by accumulation of material on the surface. Bye bye. Consciousness non-living objects also grow by accumulation of material on the surface. Example, mountains, boulders and sand mounds. Growth therefore cannot be taken as a defining property of living organisms, and in living organisms the growth is internal, but in non-living organism the growth is external. Okay, so growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Reproduction, no non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Organisms reproduce by both sexual and asexual means. Modes of reproduction: fungi by asexual spores, planaria by true regeneration, budding by yeast and hydra, fungi by fragmentation, filamentous algae and protonema of mosses. Unicellular organisms such as bacteria, unicellular algae and amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, increase in number of cells. Unicellular organisms such as bacteria, unicellular algae or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, increase in number of cells. Many organisms such as mules, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples do not reproduce. Hence, reproduction also cannot be all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organism. Now, metabolism and cellular organization. The sum total of all chemical reactions occurring in our body is called metabolism. No non-living object exhibits metabolism. An isolated metabolic reactions outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. So, metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed is neither living nor non-living. While metabolism is a defining feature feature of all living organisms without exception. Isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. Hence, cellular organization of the body is defining feature of life forms. Cellular organization of the body is defining feature of life forms, and defining feature defining feature of all living organisms without exception. Cellular organization of the body is defining feature of life form. Consciousness, the living organisms have the ability to sense their surrounding or external and surrounding or environment and external to this external stimuli, which could be physical, chemical or biological. Arms respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, pollutants, etc. Photo period affects reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself as self-conscious. Consciousness therefore becomes the defining property of living organism. Defining property, consciousness. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself. Okay, so consciousness is the defining property. What is defining feature? Defining feature of life forms is cellular. Defining feature, consciousness, ability to sense their environment. Photoperiod affect reproduction in cellular breeders. And defining feature without exception is metabolism. Reproduction is not a defining feature because okay. Let's move to diversity in the living world. Okay. So consciousness is the defining property. Living organisms are self-replicating, evolving, self-regulating, interactive systems capable of responding to external stimuli. Next is diversity in living world. Biodiversity refers to the number and types of organisms present on Earth The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. Systematics, it is the study of different kinds of organisms Biodiversity refers to the number and types of organisms present on Earth. The number of species that are known and described range between is 1.7 to 1.8 million. Systematics, it is the study of different kinds of organisms, their diversities and relationships among them. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematics. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. Systematics takes into evolutionary account relationship between organisms. Taxonomy. Taxonomy is defined as the science of identification, nomenclature and classification of organisms. The main goal of taxonomists is to identify the species. The main goal of taxonomists is to identify the species. Classification, identification, nomenclature, study of identification, nomenclature and classification. Classification, arrangement of animals and plants into convenient categories based on easily observable characters. ये है classification. Identification, correct description of organism. Nomenclature, naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. Characterization, based on the understanding of characters of organism, external, internal, morphology, anatomy, the structure of cells, cytology, development process, embryology and ecological information of organism is known as characterization. Scientific name, these are the names given to the organism by biologists based on universally accepted principles and criteria. The scientific name ensures that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people to arrive the same name, ICBM and ICZN. Binomial nomenclature, it was proposed by Carlos Linnaeus. Binomial nomenclature, two components, generic name and specific epithet. First word starts with capital letter, example mangifera. Specific epithet, second word starts with small letter, example indica. Universal rules of nomenclature, Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Separate Latin or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Separately underlined when handwritten. Separately underlined when handwritten. Name of the author is written in an abbreviated form after the specific epithet at the end of biological names. Name of the author is printed in Roman. Advantages of binomial nomenclature. The biological names are same all over the world. They are definite and accepted universally. All newly discovered plants and animals can be named, classified, and described easily. The biological names all over the world, same all over the world, they are definite and accepted universally. All new discovered plant and animal can be named, classified, and described easily. So, classification, then identification, then nomenclature, then characterization. Next is taxonomic category. This is the most important part. The system of organizing in a definite sequence of various taxonomic categories in a descending order is called taxonomic hierarchy. Okay, each category referred to as unit of classification and represent as a rank and is common termed as taxon. Common termed as taxon. The basic requirement to place an organizing in various categories is the knowledge of organizing of an individual or a group of organizing. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individual of the same kind of organizing as well as other kinds of organism. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. A group of individuals with similar morphological characters which are able to breed among themselves, and produce their own kind. Genus, group of related species which resemble one another in certain correlated character. Family, it includes one or more related genera different from other families by certain characteristic differences. Order, it includes one or more related families. It includes one or more related orders. Phylum, it includes all the organisms belonging to different class having a few common characteristics. Botanists use the term division for phylum. Kingdom, it includes all the share state of different classes. As we grow from species to kingdom, the number of common categories increase. Lower the taxa, more the characteristic of the taxon within share. Species, genus. Okay. This table is important, and lower the taxa, more of the characteristic that are members within taxa. We have to make some NCR for that. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from other closely related species based on the distinct morphological characters. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosa, and Panthera leo. All three names, indica, tuberosa, and leo, represented specific epithet, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represent another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum include species like Nigrum and Melongena. Human beings belong to the same species Papien, which is grouped in the genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is named as Homo sapien. Next is genus, comprises of related species which has no character and is common. Solanum tuberosum, okay, common. We can say that genera are more aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belong to the same genus, Solanum. Panthera leo, pardus, and tigris, with several common features, are all species of genus Panthera. This genus differs from another genus Felis, which include cats. Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive feature. Among plant species, the different genera Solanum, Petunia, and Datura are placed under Solanaceae, and among animals, the genus Panthera, comprising lion, tiger, leopard, is put along with genus Felis, cats in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some differences as well. They are separated into the two distinct different families, Felidae and Canidae respectively. So, family is Panthera, comprising lion, tiger, put in genus Felis, cats in the family Felidae with the cat, and dog is separate in family, that is Canidae, and Solanum, Piton, Datura are placed in Solanaceae. You have seen there earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on a number of similar characters. Generally, order or the higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of characters. Order being a higher category in the assemblage of families which exhibits a few similar characters. The similar character less in number as compared to different genera, including a family. Plant families like Solanaceae and Convolvulaceae, Petunia, Datura, and Solanum. And in genus, Solanum consists of brinjal and potato. Generally, order, higher taxonomic categories, is the assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. Convolvulaceae and Solanaceae are included in order polynomials and are mainly based on the floral characters. The animal order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. Class order Primata, comprising monkey, gorilla, and gibbon, are placed in class Mammalia, along with order Carnivora, that includes animals like tiger, cat, and dog. Class Mammalia has the other orders also. Next is phylum, class comprising of animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds with mammals constitute the next category higher called phylum. All these based on common features like presence of notochord and on dorsal horol neural system and are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plant, classes with few similar characteristics are assigned to a higher category called division. Kingdom, all kingdom include phyla are assembled higher category kingdom in a classification system. Okay. Next is taxonomic category table. Man, biological name Homo sapiens, genus Homo, family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, phylum Chordata. Housefly Musca, Musca Musidae, Diptera, Insecta, Arthropoda. Musca domestica, Musca genus name, family is Musidae, order is Diptera, class is Insecta, and order phylum is kingdom is Arthropoda. Phylum Arthropoda. Mango Mangifera, Indica Mangifera is the genus name and Indica is the species name, and Anacardium is the family. Order is Sapindales, Dicotyledone, Angiospermae. Triticum stegum, Triticum, Poaceae family, Poaceae, Poles, Monocotyledone, Angiospermae. Again I am revising. Biological name Homo sapien, Hominidae, Primata, Mammalia, phylum Chordata. Next, housefly Musca domestica, genus Musca, family Musidae, order Diptera, class Insecta, phylum Arthropoda. Mango Mangifera indica, genus Mangifera, Anacardiaceae, family is Anacardiaceae, order is Sapindales, class is Dicot, phylum is Angiospermae. Read Triticum stegum, genus Triticum, family Poaceae, order Poles, class Monocot, phylum Angiosperma. Next is taxonomical aids are used for identification and classification of an organism, and the information gathered is stored along with the specimen. Oh, okay, so this is not included, so we can now solve our PYQ section. Let's move. Select the correct scientific name of Mangifera indica. So Mangifera indica Lane is the correct answer. Study the statements A to D. Definition of biological species was given by Ernest Mayr. Photoperiod does not affect reproduction in plants. Photoperiod affect reproduction in plants. Binomial given by Carlos Linnaeus. In which kingdom reproduction is synonymous with growth? In unicellular organism is growth. True, false. Photoperiod. True, false, false, true. A and D. In taxonomic hierarchical arrangement, okay, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Belongs to family Nocidae. Housefly. Match column 1, column 2 for housefly classification. Family Diptera. Family. Okay. So Nocidae genus. Nocidae. Class Insecta. C4. A family 3. Nocidae. Order phylum Arthropoda D2. Done. So we have done the living world chapter completely. Now we will do, we have to see what we have to do. Okay, so today we have read sexual reproduction. Let's revise it thoroughly. Okay, it will be helpful for us. Three 20. Okay, so let's download. To P fertilization. Let's start. Flower, a fascinating organ and a various form. Flower is a modified shoot which shows favorable adaptation for reproduction through a special method. Flower consists of calyx, corolla, ambroecium, and gynoecium. Flowers are morphological and embryological structure and are the sites of sexual reproduction. So flowers is a modified shoot which shows favorable adaptation for reproduction through a special method, and flower consists of calyx, corolla, ambroecium, and gynoecium. Flowers are morphological and embryological structure and are the sites of sexual reproduction. Monocarpic plants, the plants in which flowering and fruiting takes place only once in the whole lifespan, are called monocarpic plants. Example, annual and biennial plants. Polycarpic plants, the plants in which flowering and fruiting takes place many times in the entire lifespan, are known as polycarpic plants. Example, perennial plants. So polycarpic plants क्या होता है, मेनी टाइम्स फ्रूटिंग होता है, और एनुअल का मीनिंग है कि एक बार फ्रूटिंग करके वो मर गया, और बाइनियल का मतलब है एक साल के अंदर मर गया, ठीक है, और बाइनियल का मतलब है एक बार फ्रूटिंग करके 2 साल के अंदर मर गया. Exception bamboo palms, banana and century and perennial plants, but they are example of monocarpic plants. ये बैम्बू, पाम, बैम्बू, palm, banana, sanctuary plant, जो होता है ना, ये सारे आर पेरिनेनियल प्लांट्स, पेरिनेनियल प्लांट्स, ठीक है। क्या क्या? बैम्बू, पाम, मतलब सेंचुरी को बोलते हैं एगेव अमेरिकाना, एगेव अमेरिकाना, बैम्बू, पाम, बनाना, sanctuary plant are perennial plants but are the example of monocarpic plants। ये जीवित तो रहते हैं पर ये मोनोकार्पिक के तरह एक बार फ्रूटिंग करके मर जाते हैं। प्री फर्टिलाइजेशन, स्ट्रक्चर एंड इवेंट्स तक ज़्यादा क्वेश्चंस आते हैं। और उसके बाद डबल पॉलिनेशन जो है वो भी इंक्लूड है शायद। डबल फर्टिलाइजेशन तक आगे का ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन है। पोस्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन में भी क्वेश्चन है पर वो लिमिटेड है, ठीक है। चलिए अब प्री फर्टिलाइजेशन, एंड्रोशियम जो होता है मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव स्ट्रक्चर कंसिस्ट ऑफ अ वॉल ऑफ स्टैमेंस। गाइनोशियम जो होता है वो फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव स्ट्रक्चर कंसिस्ट ऑफ ओवरी, स्टाइल एंड स्टिग्मा। स्टैमेन जो होता है फिलामेंट होता है, इसमें लॉन्ग थिन एंड स्लेंडर स्टॉक स्ट्रक्चर जॉइंस द स्टैमेन टू द थैलेमस। एंथर जो होता है वो सोलेन स्पोर बियरिंग स्ट्रक्चर होता है। एंथर पिग्मेंटरा, एंथर डाइटिकस, ईच लोब हैव टू theca, bilobe having two lobes, tetragonal structure, 4 microsporangia are located on each side of the two in each lobe. Structure of microsporangium: the microsporangium develops further and become pollen sacs. They extend longitudinally all through the length of an anther and are packed with pollen grains. Microsporangium is surrounded by 4 wall layers: epidermis, endothecium, middle layer, tapetum. So यहाँ पर सारे दिखाया गया है। मध्यम में जो होता है कनेक्टिव टिश्यू, एपिडर्मिस, एंडोथेशियम, स्पोरोजियस टिश्यू, टेपिटम। एपिडर्मिस, एंडोथेशियम, मिडिल लेयर, टेपिटम, माइक्रोसोमल फंक्शन प्रोटेक्शन एंड हेल्प्स इन डेशंस ऑफ एंथर, नो रिलीज ऑफ पोलन। ये जो स्ट्रक्चर है ये ट्रांसवर्स सेक्शन ऑफ एंथर का है। इनलार्ज व्यू ऑफ वन माइक्रोस्पोरेंजियम शोइंग वॉल लेयर्स। Cells of the tapetum possess dense cytoplasm and generally have more than one nucleus. Next है pollen sacs. 4 pollen sacs are present in the anther. Pollen sacs are known as microsporangia. Inside the pollen sacs, microspore are formed by the meiotic division of microspore mother cell. Microsporogenesis, the process of formation of microspore from a pollen mother cell through meiosis, is called microsporogenesis. Sporogenous tissue, it is a group of compactly arranged homogeneous cells that occupies the center of each microsporangium of young anther. Process: cells of sporogenous tissue, microspore pollen mother cell, 2 and 4 microspore pollen mother released essence of anther. Spore grain storage is for many years at -190 degrees Celsius in liquid nitrogen. Viability: 30 minutes in rice and wheat, 4 months in some members of Rosaceae, Leguminaceae and Solanaceae. Storage can be used as pollen banks in crop breeding programs. Next is walls of pollen grain are exine, a outer layer thick, hard and rigid, made up of sporopellenin, most resistant organic material known. Intine inner layer, thin and continuous layer made up of cellulose and pectin. Dehiscence at 2-cell stage in over 60% of angiosperm and 3-cell stage the remaining species Okay, mature pollen grain contains two vegetative cells, bigger and the abundant food reserve, largely irregular shaped nucleus, generative cells, small and floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell, spindle shaped with dense cytoplasm, and the nucleus size of pollen grain is 25 to 50 micrometer in diameter. Shape is generally spherical. You can see the structure. Pollen grain advantages: rich in nitrogen, used as supplements of food, increase in performance for athletes and racehorses. Disadvantage: causes allergy and bronchial applications that may lead to chronic respiratory disorder. Parthenium or carol plus came into India as a contaminated in imported wheat, causes pollen allergy. Next is the pistil, megasporangium, ovule and the embryo sac. The free unit of gynoecium is called pistil or carpel. Pistil is a three-part stigma landing platform for pollen grains, ovary, basal, style, elongated slender part beneath the stigma, ovary, basal, bulge part inside the ovary is the ovarian cavity locule. Next is gynoecium, monocarpellary, multicarpellary. Multicarpellary may have more than one pistil, and syncarpous, apocarpous. Syncarpous pistils are fused, apocarpous pistils are free. Monocarpellary consists of single pistil. Megasporogenesis, the process of formation of megaspore from megaspore mother cell is called megasporogenesis. The process of formation of megaspore from the megaspore mother cell is called megasporogenesis. The ovule or megaspore, rigid stalk-like outgrowth is formed from the placenta of the ovary on which body of the ovules are present. Each ovule attached to the placenta by a means of stalk called funicle. The point of attachment of funicle with the ovule is called luteum. A place from where funicle and integument arise is called chelazal end. Integument's protective envelope ovule encircle the nucellus except at the tip where a small open called microbile is organized. Enclosed within the integument is a mass of cells called nucellus. Cells of the nucellus have abundant reserve food material. Located in the nucellus is the embryo sac or female gametophyte. An ovule generally has a single embryo sac formed from a megaspore. Okay, cells of the nucellus have an abundant food reserve material. Located in the nucellus is the embryo sac and formed gametophyte. An ovule generally has a single embryo sac formed from a megaspore. Female gametophyte embryo sac. In majority of flowering plants, one of the megaspore is functional while other three degenerate. The functional megaspore develop into the female gametophyte. This method of embryo sac formation from a single megaspore is termed as monosporic development. Formation of embryo sac. The nucleus of the functional megaspore divides mitotically to form two nuclei which move to the opposite poles, forming two nucleate embryo sac. Two more sequential mitotic nuclear division result in the formation of four nucleate and later 8 nucleate stages of the embryo sac. These divisions are strictly free nuclear. Nuclear divisions are not followed immediately by cell wall formation. After 8 nucleate stages, cell walls are laid down, leading to the organism of the typical female gametophyte or embryo sac. Antipodals, polar nuclei, central axil, egg, synergids, piliform apparatus. 6 of the 8 nuclei are surrounded by cell walls and organized into cells. Remaining 2 nuclei are situated below the egg apparatus in the large central cell. The ovule at first arises as a primordium on the placenta in the cavity of the ovary. The functional megaspore is the first cell of the female gametophyte. The functional megaspore is the first cell of the female gametophyte. 6 of the 8 nuclei are surrounded by cell walls and organized into cells. 6 of the 8 nuclei are surrounded. Remaining 2 nuclei are polar nuclei situated below the egg apparatus. Situated below the egg apparatus. Situated below the egg apparatus. Okay, situated below the egg apparatus. Okay, situated below the egg apparatus. So, 8 nucleate states, cell walls are laid down, organizing a typical female of gametophyte or embryo sac. 6 of the 8 nuclei or cell remaining 2 nuclei are surrounded by cell walls and orange cells. Remaining 2 nuclei are below the egg apparatus. So, formation of embryo sac. The nucleus is the functional megaspore divides mitotically to form 2 nuclei, which move to the two opposite ends for 2 nucleate embryo sac. More mitotic nuclear division 4, 8. The division is strictly free nuclear. Nuclear division are not followed immediately by cell wall formation. After 8 nucleate stage, cell walls are laid down during the organization of the typical female gametophyte or embryo sac. 6 of the 8 nuclei are surrounded by cell walls and organized into cells. Remaining 2 nuclei, polar nuclei, are situated below the egg apparatus in the large central cell. Remaining 2 are situated below the egg apparatus in the large central cell. The ovule at first arises as a primordium on the placenta. Ovule arises on the primordium on the placenta in the cavity of the ovary. The functional megaspore is the first cell of the female. Distribution of the cell within the embryo sac. 3 cells are grouped together at the micropillar end, constitute the egg apparatus. The egg apparatus consists of 2 synergids and 1 egg cell. The synergids are special cellular thickenings. Micropillar tip called pilla apparatus. Larger and encircle antipodals. The large central cell has 2 polar nuclei. The egg apparatus consists of 2 synergids and 1 egg cell. This is a monosporic type of development, generally referred to as polygonum type. Next is filiform apparatus, helps to guide the pollen tubes into the synergid. A typical mature angiosperm embryo sac is 8 nucleus stage and 7 cell. Next is pollination. The process of transfer and deposition of pollen grains from the anther of the stigma to the stigmatic surface of the flower is called pollination. It is an essential event in sexual reproduction of seed-bearing plants. There are 2 main types of pollination, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Cross-pollination, xenogamy or allogamy, form from different plants of the same species. Flowers form from different pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the flower of another plant. It occurs in unisexual flowers. Self-pollination are transferred to the stigma of either the same flower or another flower born on the same plant. It occurs in bisexual flowers. Autogamy, same flower. Dichogamy, cross-pollination, that is the flower of the same plant. Different flowers of the same plant. Pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the same flower in autogamy. For cross-pollination, different flowers of the same plant, pollen grains are transferred to the another flower born on the same plant. Self-pollination, it is the process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of either the same flower or the same plant. Self-pollination. Cleistogamy, autogamy examples. Cleistogamy, same flower. The shy flower plants units close to ensure complete self-pollination. They are small, colorless, odorless, and not similar. Omegina oxalis melanogasis viola. Chasmogamous flowers are similar to other species with exposed anthers and stigma. Bird pollination, teenage marriage. Okay, flowers are mature before opening of the bud to ensure self-pollination, wheat, rice, pea, etc. Homogamy, perfect timing. The same anther and stigma of a flower at the same time is called homogamy. Next is advantages of self-pollination. Chances of pollination are more. Self-pollination maintains purity of the race and avoid mixing. It need not produce a large number of pollen grains. Flowers need not possess devices such as large and showy petals, presence of scent and nectar, etc. to attract pollinators. Disadvantages of self-pollination. Progeny continuously gets weaker after every generation. Less chances of the production of new species and varieties. प्रोजेनी गेट्स वीकर, प्रोजेनी वीकर हो जाता है. हाउस फ्लाई साइंटिफिक नेम मस्का डोमेस्टिका. अमन सिंह पूछ रहा है हाउस फ्लाई का साइंटिफिक नेम. Adaptation of flowers for pollination. Pollination by wind is more common amongst abiotic pollination. Both wind and water pollinated flowers are not colorful and do not produce nectar. Types of pollination. The basis of pollination agent. Agents of abiotic, anemophily, wind, hydrophily, water. Wind pollination. Pollen grains light, non-sticky, wing, stamen well exposed so that pollen grains are easily dispersed, large and feathery, flower, one ovule, arranged inflorescence. मॉक में 690 आए हैं, डू आई नीड टू प्रैक्टिस मोर? करिए जैसे चल रहा है, 690 आया है तो वहीं पर ही स्टिक करेगा और आप कर ले जाएंगे। अगर आपको लगता है मोर करने के लिए तो करिए, लेकिन जो अभी कर रहे हैं वैसा ही अपना रिदम रखिए, आपका सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा। Pollen grains light, non-sticky, winged and are stamen well exposed so that easily dispersed. Stigma large and feathery, one ovule arranged as inflorescence. Example corn cob. Next is bryophytes, pteridophytes, algae, water pollination, that is hydrophily. Pollen grains protected by mucilaginous covering. Example freshwater, Vallisneria hydrida. Seagrass, Euthera produce pollen grain large number, do not produce nectar. Female flower remains submerged. Pollen grains long ribbon-like, released inside water, carried by water currents to reach female flower. Vallisneria female flower reach the water surface by long coiled stalk. Male flower or pollen grain remain released onto water surface, carried by water current. Some eventually reach the stigma. Vallisneria insect pollination, large, colorful fragment reaching nectar. Pollen grains show sticky, stigma is sticky. Certain rewards to pollinator, nectar and edible pollen grain as food, provide safe place for laying eggs. Amorphous and Yucca plant. Although gametogamy is functionally cross-pollination, but involving autogamy since the pollen grain comes from the same plant. Pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants and limited to about 30 genera, mostly monocotyledons. Bird pollination are occur inside the bird even before the flower opens. Teenage marriage, self-pollination. Outbreeding devices are the mechanism which are followed and adapted by the plants in order to prevent self-pollination. Continuous self-pollination resulting in breeding depression, anther and stigma placed at different position. Outbreeding devices self-incompatibility prevent self from fertilizing the ovules by inhibiting pollen germination of the pollen tube grown in the pistil. Pollen release and stigma receptivity are not synchronized. Pollen is released before the stigma becomes receptive. Stigma becomes recessive much before the release of pollen grain. Production of unisexual flowers. Monoecious plant, both male and female flowers. Both male and female flowers are of the same plant, castor and maize. Dioecious plant, male and female are present on different plant. In papaya, the condition prevents both autogamy and racemogamy. Pollen-pistil interaction, recognition of compatible pollen, germination of pollen grain, and development of male gametophyte. Next is artificial hybridization. It is one of the major approaches of crop improvement program. The desired pollen are used for pollination and stigma is protected from contamination. This is achieved by two techniques: emasculation, bagging. Removal of anther from the flower bud before initiation. Bagging, flower covered by a bag made up of butter to prevent contamination of stigma with unwanted pollen. Bagged flower attains receptivity, mature pollen grains are dusted onto stigma and the flowers are rebagged and fruits are allowed to develop. Double fertilization is the process of fusion of one male gamete with egg along with the union of the second male gamete with the two polar nuclei of the secondary nucleus. Syngamy, one male gamete plus egg cell equals to zygote 2n. Triple fusion, second male gamete, two polar nuclei, triple fusion. Syngamy plus triple fusion equals double fertilization. The central cell after triple fusion becomes the primary endosperm cell and develops into endosperm while the zygote develops into embryo. So central cell after triple fusion becomes primary endosperm cell and develops into endosperm while the zygote develops into embryo. Next is post-fertilization events. Structure and function. चलिए ये भी कर देते हैं। तो अभी इतना तक ही करते हैं क्योंकि रात हो गया, कल सुबह भी उठना है। तो अभी PYQ करके हम लोग इसको कंटिन्यू कल करेंगे, ठीक है। चलिए जल्दी जल्दी फिनिश करते हैं, 5 मिनट। Given below two statements, cleistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Cleistogamy is a disadvantageous. Flowers are invariably autogamous. Cleistogamy is disadvantage as there is no chances of cross pollination. Yes. Identify the correct statement related to pollination. Oh my god, sorry, the pollination is yes. Moths and butterflies as the most dominant pollination agent. Pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants. True. Pollination is more common amongst abiotic plants. True. The flowers produce foul odors to attract flies and beetles to get pollen odor. More the most dominant. Okay. Indeed. A typical angiosperm embryo sac at maturity is 7 nucleate stage and 8 nucleate cell. Typical angiosperm maturity is seven celled and 8 nucleate. 8 nucleate and 7 cell. The term used for transfer of pollen grain from anthers of one plant to stigma of different flower, which pollination brings genetically different types of pollen grain to the stigma. Dichtonogamy. Cleistogamy, chasmogamy, xenogamy. Xenogamy. Okay. I think xenogamy. Which in some members of pollen grain, in some members, which of the following pairs of families pollen grain retain their viability for months after release? 30 minutes. Leguminous. I think leguminous. Reset their viability for months. Leguminaceae, rosaceae and solanaceae. Leguminaceae. Leguminaceae, rosaceae. The plant parts which consist of two generations, one within the other. Pollen grains inside the anther. Germinated pollen grains with two male gametes. Seed inside fruit, embryo inside the ovule. In water hyacinth and water lily, pollination takes place by the body of the ovule is fused within the funicle at which of the following is incorrect for wind pollinated plant? Which of the following has provided helpful in preserving pollen as fossils? Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen and functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into embryo sac. Okay. Well, a dioecious flowering plant prevents flowers which have single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by attracants, and rewards are required for entomophily. Entomophily. The ovules of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to pollination in water hyacinth lily is brought about by the agency of in majority of angiosperm reduction division occurs in the megaspore mother cell. Reduction division occurs in megaspore mother cell. Which of the following is not correct? Pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen tube of the same species grows into style. Insect that pollinate nectar without bringing away is called pollen or nectar without bringing about pollination is called pollen, nectar, or robbers. Pollen germination and pollen tube are regulated by chemical or pollen interacting with the environment have reported as pollen in some species. Pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen. Which one of the following statement is true? Tapetum helps to license the anther. Not true. Examine of pollen grains of honey. Pollen grains of many species cause slime. Stored magnesium can be used in the crop breeding programs. Tapetum helps in license of anther. Is the wrong answer. Proximal end of filament is of stamen is attached to the thalamus, to the anther. Thalamus. Proximal end of the filament is attached to the thalamus or the petal. Which of the following may require pollinators but is genetically similar to autogamy? Gaitonogamy. Gaitonogamy. उल्टा पोलिनेज. Which of the following are important floral rewards to the color, nectar and pollen grains? Gaitonogamy involves fertilization of a flower by pollen grain from a flower of another plant belonging to a distant population. Gaitonogamy fertilization flower with another flower of the same plant. Which one of the following is correct? Epitum nourishes the developing pollen. Hard outer layer of pollen grain is called meantime. Sporogenous tissue is haploid. A. Advantages of cleistogamy is (32D). Function of filiform apparatus is to guide the entry of, recognize the suitable pollen stigma. 29. Recognize the suitable, guide the entry of pollen tube. In angiosperm, microsporium, angiosperm means form gametes without further breeding or meiosis. B. Involve meiosis. Filiform apparatus is a characteristic feature of synergids. Male gametophyte in angiosperm produce D. 2 sperms and a vegetative cell. Megasporangium is equivalent to Endonucellus. Okay, so today it is done and still some time left. Let's do some easy questions of NEET practice. Albuminous seeds store their reserve food mainly in their endosperm. Match the following and choose the correct option. Solanum tuberosa. Solanum family. Genus. Species. B4. Genus. Order polynomials. B4. C2. C. D. 4B. All the given options represent the basic process of taxonomy except new condition is present in liquid endosperm of coconut. In plants that shed pollen in a two-celled condition, the genetic cell derives from the two main gamete. Growth of the pollen tube in the stem. Scutellum is present in the embryo of Triticum. True fruit is directly from ovary. Which are the following defining characteristic of living organism? Next one to what is the function of megasporangium in plants? Which taxonomy can give comprehensive amount of complete compiled information of a genus or a family at a particular time? Each statement key. Pollen tube is covered by Pectocellulose. Ovules contain many embryo in both citrus and mango. Perisperm is remnant of nucleus. Endosperm found in angiospermic seed is formed before fertilization. It formed after fertilization. The mature seed of plants such as gram and pea possess no endosperm because the bilobe structure of them is very distinct in transfer section. Function of suspension of embryo is push the embryo pollination does not guarantee the transfer of the right type of pollen. If the pollen is the wrong type, then it is severe pollen by preventing which of the following statement about sporopellening is incorrect. Protonin. Embryo sac. ओके गाइस, सो आज के लिए इतना ही. फिर